ThouxanBanFauni? I like this guy, but I just need to find out how you say his name. ThouxanBanFauni? Thuxan? Would you say the X, or is it like pronounced like something? I don't know. We'll call him Fauni. I might just call him Fauni. Fauni is a bit of a weird name for like a trap cloud rap artist, but we'll go with it. Recently discovered this guy just through word of mouth, passing on music through music friends and all that kind of stuff. I know my good friend David Rowe is big on this kind of stuff, so he's been really loving this album lately. Maybe that's a spoiler actually, because I'm not sure if he'll do a review for this, but if he does, then I've just given you what he thinks. And I was intrigued because I do try my best to keep up with these kinds of artists in this scene. Lots of artists over the past few years have really boomed and absolutely thrived in mainstream music due to this rise in like atmospheric trap stuff. Travis Scott's one of the big ones. You've got Playboi Carti too. You've even got Lucky, who recently has started to see a bit of a rise. I see all kinds of different names bubbling in the underground that are doing this style. It's often hit and miss for me. Like, I'll listen to quite a few artists and often I'm either just left feeling a bit meh, it lands a bit flat, like I can see what they're trying to do, but my ears just aren't sinking into the music sort of thing. Because you gotta remember, a lot of this stuff is not lyrical based at all, so these guys aren't coming in with the most lyrical, spiritual, miracle stuff, even close to that actually. There's really no substance to this at all, but usually the appeal is more in the music and how it consumes you, and often I'm just left a bit, okay, this is, yeah. But I will say this album here, I'm really liking this. This is really, really good. Time of My Life really does what it says, because it just sounds like this guy is just so laid back, chill, and just having a lot of fun, even though his voice might not exactly demonstrate that in every case, because he's often really like druggy and kind of like slurred. But you can tell he's just like got this no fucks given attitude, and it comes through in the music, and the kind of beats that he's rapping over are really, really creative. Like, I'm not saying that this is the most creative thing I've ever heard, and there's nothing else out there like this. But there are some really, really weird instrumentals on this that I think he's managing to sell incredibly well. I've already mentioned Lucky, and the opener is very much like that, just that kind of like really, really laid back flow. The beat is something I feel like you'd hear on maybe like a Playboi Carti album, for example. But then you've got a track like Midnight Club that comes after this, and then it just abolishes what he was doing on the first track, because it sounds nothing like it. The instrumental is so in your face. It's like some early 2010s, like late 2000s, like dance stuff. I mean, it's not a dance banger instrumental, but like it just kind of sounds like it came from that era. Like the synths are so dizzying and it's so weirdly intoxicating. It just completely baffles the mind when it's on, but it sounds so good. It's just psychedelic madness, and I'm instantly like sucked in. Instantly. There are very few tracks that could suck me in as quickly as this one did. And interestingly, not every song sounds like this, but he manages to provide a lot of variety throughout the album that keeps you on your toes, and you're not entirely sure where he's going to take you next. He throws in some really catchy ad-libs on Formula One, where he does the E-I-E-I-O thing, but like he does it over the beat and it sounds really cool. Again, no major substance to the lyrics here. You're just listening for the atmosphere and what he can do to kind of switch things up with his flows and stuff, and the way he's like using his voice over these really trippy instrumentals. It just works. Thankfully, as well as all these like psychedelic trippy cloud rap things that he's got going on, you've got some really catchy moments too, like Forza. I just feel like the beat on this one and the way he's rapping over it is just incredibly accessible. The one line where he says they don't care about money, but they are mad about women, they are simply simping. I find that part really quite humorous. I did paraphrase what he said there, but you get the point of what he's saying. Dow Jones has these really weird wails and moans, just like you'd hear on an Uzi track. It almost borderlines annoying, just like it would for an Uzi song, because I'm not really a fan of Uzi, but he doesn't really take it too far to the point where it overrides the song. Like, I feel like if you listen to an Uzi song, he would do these moans and wails from the start to the end, and it's just that all the way through. It's starting at 100, it has nowhere to go, and it just gets really annoying and irritating. I don't really get the appeal of Uzi at all, aside from a few tracks, in case you couldn't tell. But on Dow Jones, he just does it in a way that's not completely like taking over the song. Like, he's not turning it into his one thing that he can do. He's doing other things on this album and this song, as well as these weird wailing things. And that's how you do it. You weave them in. You don't just do it for the whole song, and that's what makes this track work really well. Oceanside, though, bringing it back to that midnight club thing I was talking about, this sounds like a Nero song. If anyone ever listened to Nero in the 2000s with like the trance dubstep type stuff, it really sounds like he's rapping over that, and it is weirdly alluring. I am just in awe of how this beat sounds. There's a feature called MDMA on this one and the previous track as well, and I do feel like these two tracks sound like they're incredibly distinct in comparison to what many of the other songs sound like. So you can really tell that this feature, I don't know much about the guy, but they've really brought in something very unique to add to this album. And then it swiftly transitions into a different beat, and it just sounds so cool and slick, and he's just giving us something completely different to what he was in the first half of the song. The beat switch is really, really clean. Occasionally on the album, he does throw in like this modulated, weird voice that reminds me of like Memphis rap, you know, where the voice is like, you hear it in like chopped and screwed type stuff. I don't really like it, and on the track OOTW he does it there, but it's not on the whole of the track, so it's not too bad. But I just think when it comes in, it at least brings a change of pace. It's showing that he's not doing the same thing the whole way through on every song, which a lot of artists in this style can't say the same thing. Like, a lot of artists wouldn't switch it up like he does. But yeah, I just think when he does that occasionally, it doesn't really appeal to me. But the rhythm of the beat is great. He sounds fantastic over this. Twisted Metal is another good one too, where he's just saying random shit. But the beat is incredibly accessible. I feel like if there was one track to catch a bit of attention or maybe do well on like streaming services, it would be this one, because the beat is just, I don't know how to describe it. It sounds like it's got like a bit of a dance rhythm to it. It reminds me of some stuff that you'd hear actually in the charts. It's got a pretty memorable chorus as well with the engine room thing. But the rest of the lyrics have nothing to them really. He just says random things like Jared Leto and Vivian Westwood. I don't know, but it's great. It's a lot of fun. And from there onwards, really, it's just the same. It's the mindless fun that I was having with the first half of the album just carries over into the second half. Daytona, GTR, tracks like that, they've got the same appeal as to what all of the other tracks have, which is what makes this a really addicting listen. I find it quite weird. I've not heard anything like this in this style that's quite impacted me the same way in quite a while. Really been quite a long time since I found like an atmospheric, trippy, psychedelic trap album that's hit me as hard as this. And I think my enjoyment really comes from how easily replayable it is. Yeah, it runs a little long, it's like an hour, but I don't think it's a huge detriment to the enjoyment that I get. 8 out of 10 from me. I think this is great. I don't think it's going to be for everyone, but I think my reviews reflect my own opinions. And if I think something is really fun, really replayable, then I'm going to give it an 8, and that's exactly what this is. If David Rowe does review this at some point, make sure you do watch his review too, because I feel like he'll probably bring a really interesting perspective onto how this album impacts him, because he does really well with these kinds of albums in his reviews. So if you're watching, David, do give this a review. I'd like to see what you think. And again, if you're watching, watch his review too if it drops at any point. But thank you for watching. Do have a good day. And listen to it. Let me know your thoughts. Goodbye.